lot of people play fantasy football in ESPN leagues, so we have some guys that if you draft them in your ESPN leagues, they're going significantly later than they are on other platforms. So we're going to take a look at these guys, starting with J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, when you look at his sleeper ADP, he is going in the middle of the 4th round or 55th overall. On ESPN, he is going at the 8-11 or at 107 overall. He is going 52 picks later on ESPN than he is on Sleeper. And look, I'm not necessarily the biggest J.K. Dobbins fan at his price on Sleeper, but when you're getting him at the end of the 8th round in ESPN leagues, absolutely every day I'm doing that. Look, we love contract year running backs, okay? We saw it last year with Josh Jacobs. He's a full year removed now from his injury, and he should have much better long speed now for some breakaway runs. He just couldn't hit that last year. You could see it in the videos, but because he's a year removed from that injury, that we think that he's going to be able to have that. He's got a new offensive coordinator, a more balanced offense, and it should help him receive touches, and it should help him get some more goal line work. It's not the Todd Monk, or it is the Todd Monk. It's not the Greg Roman offense that we all became very familiar with, and we became scared to kind of roster running backs in that. I think this is going to be a little bit more schemed towards the running backs like J.K. Dobbins here. Todd Monken, he's heavily relied on lead backs in his previous NFL stints. For example, when he was Nick Chubb's offensive coordinator, Nick Chubb had 18.6 attempts per game, and that was in 2019. In 2022, he had 5.7 yards per carry, and he had 6 yards per carry in his rookie year. So, I mean, J.K. Dobbins has shown, and this, again, Dynasty, I'm looking at it differently, but he's shown when he gets the opportunity and when he's healthy, he's a fairly productive back. He's a hyper-efficient runner. We all loved him as a prospect. We all remember him coming out of Ohio State, and he was dealing with injuries, and the Greg Roman offense featured like real heavy committees and heavy QB run and option plays. So he's proved that he's one of the better pure runners in the NFL. I think you've seen that on his tape when he has been healthy. Yeah, Lamar absolutely is going to take some ceiling from him. We totally get that. But with a more balanced offense expected in 2023 from Todd Monken, I mean, I think he's got a shot to be an RB1.
Yeah, absolutely.
He definitely has a ceiling.
Yeah, it's never been a question about is J.K. Dobbins talented enough to be an elite runner and an elite fantasy asset. It just is, can he stay healthy for an entire season? And really, that's just from one single injury. We're just at his price at the end of the 8th round in ESPN drafts and ESPN ADP.
Yep.
Like, you've got to be loving that price with the upside that he offers when he's shown that he's such an efficient running back. The next guy we're going to have is Tua Tagovailoa. On Sleeper ADP, he's going at the 7-9, which is 93rd overall, versus ESPN ADP going at the 9-10, 118 overall. So that's a 2-round difference when you're looking at a guy who has mid to low end quarterback one upside and in one QB. I mean, at price, when you're getting him at the end of the 9th round, you want to be biting on that opportunity for sure. Yes. For a guy that's tied to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Quarterback 11 on Sleeper versus quarterback 14 on ESPN, and for reference, Underdog going at quarterback 10. So again, ESPN, this is the place where you're going to want to get him. I mean, I like him at price on Underdog.
I do too. I was going to say he's like my 4th most drafted quarterback on Underdog, and he's going as the QB 10.
If I'm getting him that much later on ESPN, I'm biting there all day.
Absolutely.
Last season, the Dolphins finished 4th in passing yards with Tua missing 5 games.
And who was their backup? I can't remember.
Skylar Thompson.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Guys.
4,700 plus yards would put Tua in the top 3 or 4 in the NFL last season. So I said earlier that he has mid to low end quarterback one upside. That's being majorly conservative. He actually has high end quarterback one upside with the trend that he was following last season before he got hurt. 9.2 average depth of target was the highest of any starting quarterback in 2022, with 2 of the best deep threats in the league on the same team.
Yep.
You've got to be loving the situation. Yes, his offensive line struggled last year, which was a lot of the reason why Tua got injured and why he struggled with concussions, as he kept getting hit, and it was really unfortunate. Teron Armstead is expected to be healthy for week 1, so that's a really big deal for the Dolphins offense in general and as a whole, for them to be able to protect Tua.
And Tua learned how to fall and not smack his head on the ground.
That's obviously going to be a focal point that Mike McDaniel and that offense is going to want to focus on, is Tua Tagovailoa staying healthy, not letting him get hit. So I think, you've got to expect him getting rid of the ball sooner, getting rid of the ball faster, and getting the ball into his playmakers' hands. And you know what Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are capable of doing after the catch.
Yep.
Mike McDaniel's system is perfect for Tua's accuracy and quick trigger. Second in play action, and that just really helps him in general. So I think overall, you can call us crazy, but Tua has a chance to literally lead the league in passing
Absolutely
yards.
has a chance.
And if he's healthy for 17 games, I think top 5 is actually a safe bet for him from a passing yardage perspective and maybe even fantasy overall. So you're looking at his price at quarterback 14 on ESPN. You're seeing that his ceiling is higher than that. That's what you want to bite on.
Yeah. All of this content, all of these rankings and stuff, you want all of the exclusive access to our fantasy football tools to help you win your leagues is available at flockfantasy.com/domain. When you use code domain, you get all of our exclusive content. You get our full 2023 fantasy football rankings to help you dominate your draft. Not only that, you get access to databases, you get access to fantasy articles, not only from us, but from the whole Flock team. And when you're using code domain, you also get access to our, personal messages. We message back and forth giving people fantasy draft advice all the time. So if you want that, flockfantasy.com/domain, you have to use code domain and you get 30% off when you do. So I would recommend heading over there as well.
Code domain,
baby. Johan Dotson is another guy, and this is funny. And John, our research analyst, put in little parentheses right by his name, we are, which of course is a Penn State thing because he's a Penn State guy. But Sleeper, when you're looking at him on Sleeper, he's going at the 7-4, 88th overall. On ESPN, he is going at the 9-6. If you would flip those, that would be nice. But this is not nice. 114th overall.
It's nice for value.
It's nice for value. Wide receiver 38 on Sleeper versus the wide receiver 42 on ESPN. For reference, he's the wide receiver 39 on Underdog. So Johan Dotson, the last 5 games of 2022, when he was finally healthy, he was on pace for 71 catches, 1,170 yards, and 10 touchdowns as a rookie, which, by the way, would have been the wide receiver 10 in 2022. So, again, that's in the last 5 games when he was healthy. And everybody wants to take Jerry Jeudy's splits over the last 6-7 games and apply it to this year and say, that's why I'm drafting Jerry Jeudy so high. I mean, where's Jerry Jeudy's even going in the 20s now on Underdog, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to use that logic, then you have to apply it to Johan Dotson. I mean, he is the best zone-beating wide receiver and had the best hands of the 2022 wide receiver class, according to Reception Perception. And if you're not familiar with their work, they do great work over there. He's shown chemistry with Sam Howell very early, and often last year, the first preseason game and in camp, he was also showing good chemistry with Howell. So it'll be exciting to see how those two kind of roll out and work as a team. Not to mention, you now have Eric Bieniemy, who we are a huge fan of. Eric Bieniemy brings a ton of value to Johan Dotson when you think about it. I mean, but he also brings a ton of value to Howell. He's going to allow him to play within himself. And really, when you have a quarterback that's confident like that, that's what Johan Dotson needs. I mean, I don't think Carson Wentz is the most confident quarterback, and I don't think he was last year either. No. Bieniemy can change that for Sam Howell and for Johan Dotson. Look, in our opinion, Johan Dotson should have no problem at all performing as a mid wide receiver 3. And that's pretty much, in my opinion, probably the floor. That's probably the floor. Yeah. And it's not crazy to think Dotson could be pushing to become the wide receiver 1 in Washington this year. We've long said that. I think Terry functions better as a wide receiver 2. Johan Dotson can be an alpha there in Washington. You've loved Johan Dotson since he came out of college. But again, Eric Bieniemy's kind of the wild card here. Howell's going to give him a ton of targets. And if he has a healthy season, we could see him finishing, as a wide receiver 2, as a ceiling. And that's where Terry's being drafted. We've said, the changing of the guard could happen quicker than people think. And honestly, when you're talking about Johan Dotson and the fact that he's going 114th overall on ESPN, I am smashing him there every single time at that ADP.
Yeah, absolutely. Next guy we're going to have here is Drake London, whose current sleeper ADP is at the 4-6, 54th overall, and in ESPN 3 rounds later at the 706, 90th overall. We have our own questions about Drake London. We have for a bit, especially with the fact that the Falcons run the ball more than anyone else in the NFL. So you put Kyle Pitts on top of that, and you're saying, are they going to, take away from each other? Is there going to be a dominant Kyle Pitts or a dominant Drake London where they hurt the other player? Who knows? At the 4-6, definitely a lot of risk there on Sleeper. At the 706, for a guy that had over 800 receiving yards as a rookie last season, I mean, that's historically good. That's historically indicative of a very good wide receiver who will be successful in fantasy long term. I am a huge fan of the price there, and completely, I don't care about the risk at that point. In the 7th round for a talent like Drake London, wide receiver 23 on Sleeper, wide receiver 33 on ESPN. His profile is amazing as a rookie last season, targeted on 27% of his routes run. 2 yards per route run, 29% target share to end the year with Desmond Ridder, 10 targets per game in his final 4 games. Granted, that was not with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was injured. Kyle Pitts is now going into this year coming off of an MCL injury where we don't really know what his status is going to be. They say he's okay. It's kind of been hush-hush, though. We don't really know what's going to happen. If I were to bet on there being a dominant receiver there, it would be Drake London. London finishing as a wide receiver 31 last season is being drafted behind that in ESPN leagues.
He's being drafted to finish worse.
You're literally predicting that he's going to be worse. And actually the same thing's going on with Johan Dotson.
Yeah.
I understand it's a run-first offense, but to some extent, the exit of Mariota and the addition of Bijan Robinson may balance itself out a bit in terms of opportunity for London, where it kind of ends up being similar. And you got to expect the Falcons to be in the bottom 10 in terms of pass attempts per game. That is, you do have to account for that. But they were second to last in 2022 with Mariota. Mariota's gone. If he can continue the pace he was, this is Drake London on the final 4 games of the season, I mean, he could be, his ceiling is going to be a mid wide receiver 2 with a spike week upside and an improved offense. So we're not huge fans of Desmond Ridder. We don't love Desmond Ridder long-term. We don't think he's really going to be anything, but this season he is, from a passing game perspective, a bit of an upgrade. And Drake London has already shown that as a rookie, he could transcend abysmal passing game play.
And at wide receiver 24, like, I'm not like dying to take Drake London.
This is ESPN.
But at wide receiver 33,
price.
Absolutely, I'm taking him there.
Yep.
And the last guy on this list we're going to talk about is Rashad Bateman. And here's a fun picture of Rashad Bateman in ESPN ADP going behind Brendan McManus, the kicker for the Jaguars.
Oh my gosh.
So his sleeper ADP is at the 10-10, 130th overall. His ESPN ADP is the 14-1, 169th overall, which is basically undrafted. That's that
nice value.
It's nice value for us. He's the wide receiver 53 on Sleeper versus the wide receiver 69 on ESPN. Nice
value.
And again, the wide receiver 48 on Underdog. I'm not touching Bateman in Underdog leagues, but I will take him here. Look, the number one thing here obviously is going to be health for Bateman. But currently, as it stands when we're recording this video, he's on track to be back for week 1. So we're hoping that's the case. But either way, the risk is more than baked into his value on ESPN here. I mean, you're getting Lamar's potential wide receiver 1. We don't know if it's going to be Odell or Zay or Bateman. We have long said it's going to be Zay Flowers. And that's acknowledged also here in the research that John did. However, still, with that being uncertain, and you're going to have a more pass-heavy offense, and you're getting him in the 14th round of your drafts, Lamar's also shown the abilities to support high-end wide receiver 2s like Hollywood Brown, even in Greg Roman's offense. So if he can do that in Greg Roman's offense, I mean, Lamar's not a question here. And, we don't know who. I mean, Bateman. I will give Bateman credit. Targeted on 23% of the routes he ran last year when he was healthy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that actually before he went down, which was pretty early in the season. Before he went down, though, I mean, they were scoring a ton of points. The Baltimore Ravens were, and Bateman was a big part of that. Yes, he was more big play dependent, and he didn't get a ton of targets from a volume perspective. But there was still the flash there, where it was like, okay, this is kind of what we wanted to see from Bateman his rookie year. Struggled with injury. Then he got injured for the whole season last season. It's just unfortunate. And at this point, yes, you can't be concerned about the injury. In the 14th round, It's a crapshoot anyways. Why not throw a dart at Rashad Bateman?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, a similar argument can be made for Zay Flowers as well. So he's a wide receiver 48 on ESPN. And that's, to me, that's way too low. He should be an elite target earner in 2023 and beyond. He is the Deontay Johnson archetype, which we are huge fans of in fantasy as well.
Yeah.
So
other potential targets here that we're going to just touch on are going to be Quentin Johnson, who's wide receiver 41 on Sleeper versus wide receiver 50 on ESPN. And he is one injury away from elite level volume tied to Justin Herbert in a Kellen Moore offense. And this is
good. That's good.
Look, Keenan Allen, we really like him. Mike Williams, we really like him. It's almost guaranteed that for a stretch this season that one or both of them will be hurt. Quentin Johnson's probably going to be thrown into a situation where he gets, again, a ton of volume. Zach Charbonnet, running back 37 on Sleeper and 42 on ESPN. A murky backfield, splitting time with Kenneth Walker. But again, one injury away from workhorse load. A workhorse load in a 6-back offense, potential PPR and goal line monster.
He can be that without an injury.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, he's already a PPR threat with Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, love it.
So like that price there.
Yeah, 2 more. Anthony Richardson, he's QB 12 on Sleeper. He's QB 16 on ESPN. Look, we've seen in the preseason games, we're going to be like, yeah, he was 6 to 17 the other night. Yeah, we get it. Anthony Richardson, yeah, not only that, but he can literally like run for 15 yards and he looks like he's jogging. So when you're talking about rushing upside, he is a perfect low risk, high upside QB2 option late in the ESPN draft if you want to punt quarterback early. So he's a good he's a good one there. And also it says insert stat about QBs that have more than 800 plus rushing yards here. You know the rest. Everybody's heard it. You get it.
Yeah.
Sam Laporta is going to be the last guy. He's going as the tight end 17 on Sleeper and tight end 20 on ESPN. He seems to have earned the tight end 1 spot in Detroit right away. So that's good. He's on an elite offense and that doesn't have a true wide receiver 2 until Jameson Williams comes back, and I guess you could call him a true wide receiver 2. But I mean, he's another low risk upside, high upside tight end 2 to target at the end of your ESPN drafts. So those are some other targets we may be thinking of, but let us know what you think of the video in the comments. Let us know some guys that you are trying to draft in your ESPN leagues because they are great values. Do us a huge favor, drop a like on the video, and if you play fantasy football, and if you have not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed as well. We got fantasy content coming out all year to help you dominate every single league that you play in. We really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.